Does that thumbs up mean what I think it means? Oh, boy. Okay, just relax. All right, just relax. First time we're trying a live interview here on Mostly Sports.
Yeah, this is.
And Zoom can be a little doing a live Zoom is probably very stupid. But if you get the opportunity to interview somebody that you followed for 25 years, I think you do it. So we turn, we look, we're welcoming. Oh shit, there he is. He's right there. All right. We got from All Elite Wrestling. Listen, if you've been a fan of wrestling forever, or if you haven't watched, I don't know, you know the name Edge in WWE, you know the name Adam Copeland. He's currently in All Elite Wrestling, and he's right fucking there. Adam Copeland, what's up?
Maybe my favorite intro ever.
Yeah, no, that was. I'm sorry. First question.
Right to it. Let's go. Okay.
Tate McRae, do you think she's a generational talent, or do you think she's a flash in the pan?
So here's the deal. I was at the NHL All-Star game, right?
Yeah.
And she was performing, and I had Britt Baker texting me saying, Tate McRae's there. And I was like, I don't know who that is. Meanwhile, she was performing. So I don't know. She's Canadian. So
Is she?
I'll give her props for that. Yeah. I think she's from Alberta. That much I learned.
Is that all it takes in your eyes? Just be Canadian?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I mean, there's what, like 37 million of us, okay, in a country that landmass wise is bigger than the U.S. So we stick together.
Yeah, but what if I don't know any Canadian serial killers right now? But what if there's a bad person from Canada? Would you say, oh, he's Canadian, I give him a pass?
No, because then the Canadians would just douse them in maple syrup and then light them on fire or something.
I hate stereotypes, but I'll be damned if Canada didn't look out with maple syrup, because it is delicious.
Maple syrup, beer, hockey, wrestling. It kind of goes in that order.
Yeah, you guys kind of do own a big segment of wrestling, don't you?
Yeah, well, you know what it is? I think it's if you come from Canada, especially in prior decades, it meant something. Like you had to grind to kind of get there. So chances are you were pretty good. And that was pre-internet, that was pre-social media, that was pre all of those things, right? So you had your Owens and Bretts, and then kind of our era came along where it was myself and Jericho and Christian and Trish Stratus, and so the Canadians have done okay.
I have a more simple theory. You mentioned maple syrup, you mentioned beer, you mentioned hockey, and you mentioned wrestling. Yeah. I think Canadians just like mullets, and all of those things kind of involve mullets.
I mean, I got a Euro mullet now, or a soccer mullet, or a football mullet, however you want to term it. But I used to rock a real like Kentucky waterfall. Like it was feathered. It was not good.
Second question before we get into the wrestling stuff. This is very important because in a second we're going to unveil the Mostly Sports top 10 animals list. What's the best animal?
Best animal? Saber-toothed tiger.
Well, no. That doesn't. I didn't ask you what the best extinct animal was. I asked you what the best animal is.
No, you said animal. You didn't differentiate.
But you've never.
It was an animal at one point. So to me, it's in the running. You need to make sure that you set the guidelines a little closer next time.
You've never seen a saber-toothed tiger.
Woolly mammoth.
He's just rattling off Ice Age.
All right, here's a question for you. Listen, you're in All Elite Wrestling right now. You've got AEW Dynasty coming up on April 21st. Yep. I'll ask you about that specifically in a minute. I know a lot of these podcasts will ask you what's the best match you've ever had. I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to ask what's the best match you've never had. Who's the guy in all of wrestling that you've never looked eye to eye in the ring and you've said, man, that would have been awesome? So,
okay, that's a kind of a two-part answer, all right, because in the past, it would be Bret Hart. I think, if you were to take us both in our prime, and that would be a really fun one. Currently, and really what caused me to want to come to AEW in the first place was looking at the roster, and I haven't wrestled anybody there, like 90% of the roster, which is really, really exciting at this stage of my career to, kind of go after new challenges. So I look at Samoa Joe. Never stood across the ring from him, and that's crazy considering how much experience the two of us have. John Moxley, Claudio, Hangman, Swerve Strickland. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, let alone the other 25, 30 people that I've never laid hands on before.
That's a very tastefully decorated room you're in. I like that room a lot.
Hey, guess what? Guess who decorated it?
Your wife?
This guy right here.
No chance. No chance.
Yeah, absolutely. She left the house to me. And because I'll say it, I have a better eye. What can I say?
Well, she's obviously not there right now, and that's fine.
True.
You don't have a better eye than your wife. There's no husband in the world that has a better eye than their wife when it comes to putting a house together.
Well, you would be surprised. And I bet you any money she'd go, yeah, it was him. Because it was. What can I say?
Is that a screened-in porch behind you?
No, that is actually, it goes out to a deck and then it goes out to the mountain. So, I'm in the library right now because there's a bunch of noise and workers here. So if you hear anything, that's what it is. Sorry.
Notice what I don't see in that library is books.
Well, they're all on this wall.
Oh, that's my fault. I don't care. There's podcasts right now that when they get an AEW wrestler or a WWE wrestler, they want to ask about some drama that's been going on the last couple of weeks. I don't want to ask about that at all. I don't give a shit. Whatever can happen can happen.
Me neither.
I truly don't give a shit. So my question to you is, sell me on AEW right now. Going forward, if I haven't watched it, what's going to make me tune in? Because I watch it. I've been watching it for 5 years. But I got some audience members that maybe haven't checked it out yet.
Sure.
Why should they?
To me, it's a young company, and that's exciting. You know, it's 5 years in, so it's just at a toddler phase, right? So I think you learn, and there's going to be dips and valleys. You know, that stands to reason. But I think now looking at our roster, if you just look at our roster, it's a murderer's row. Like there's Will Ospreay, there's Kenny Omega, and they do things like I don't even understand how they do it. Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't even think of it, let alone attempt to try it. And how do you find out that you can do that? So there's so many guys like that. You got Swerve, and he's really coming up right now, Swerve Strickland. It's an exciting time to be there because you got a really, really good locker room in terms of people with experience and then people on the cusp. And I think that's just really exciting, really fun. That's one thing I'll say about AEW is, you know, come to have fun. Like you'll see a dude dressed as Jesus, see a dude dressed as Macho Man, Sting. I mean, it's just people come to have fun, and that's what this is. It's supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to, okay, you forget about the boss at work for a couple hours, you forget about the bully at school, whatever it is. That's what AEW is.
So AEW Dynasty, I'll say this about AEW. If there are peaks and valleys, if there are whatnot, every single time I have gone into my wallet and bought an AEW pay-per-view from the very first one, 2019, all the way to now. It has always been very, very, very good. On this particular show, you'll be wrestling with Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe against House of Black. What's your problem with House of Black?
You'd have to ask them what the problem is with me. I think, you know, hey, TNT champ, right? So you got a target on your back right away. But it seems like from the day I came into the company, there's a lineup of people that want to, you know, kind of test themselves with me, and that's cool. The other aspect of it is teaming with Eddie and Mark Briscoe. Like within the first time I met those guys, I was like, okay, these are my people. Like they're really just fun dudes to hang out with, and we joke around and just have a good time. You know, they're experienced guys too. There's a lot of experience on our team, and but more than anything, it's fun to get out there with guys that are having a blast just like you.
All right, I'm going to regret what's about to happen, but I have a co-host here, young guy named Connor Griffin, and he asked me if he could ask one question. I have not vetted the question. I don't know what he's about to ask you. So I now turn the stage over to Connor Griffin. Go.
Well, it wasn't like I had a specific
Connor,
question.
ask the damn question.
Okay. First of all, big fan. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that your walkout music, I think, is the best walkout music in all of wrestling.
I'm biased, but I agree.
Thank you. Perfect. And secondly, I guess my actual question is, for someone who's been in the business as long as you have, especially with some of the injuries that you've had, what's been the biggest key that's allowed your career to go on as long as it has, and how have you stayed so hungry throughout all these years?
Well, yeah, I think more than anything is staying hungry. And I think, having it pulled away from me in 2011 for 9 years, once I was able to get this thing back, and I put the work in to get it back. So if I'm going to put that work in, I want to make sure that I sink my teeth into every aspect of this. I think more than anything, it was the challenge of doing this with a triple fusion in my neck, because nobody's ever done that before, right? So that's a big challenge. I want to see if I can. And, the other night I was in there with Penta, who is this insanely talented luchador, and trying to hang with him and even breaking into stuff that I hadn't done since the early 90s. That's really fun. I think that's the key. And then, motion is lotion. So I keep moving. I get in the gym every day. That's really part of what, that's what the actual job is. When you see me performing, that's the fun. It's the everyday. It's the grind of, okay, got to get in the gym. Just got to do it. And I think more than anything, that and diet, just maintaining my diet. I drink a gallon of water a day. Like I'm pretty on top of all that stuff. I have to be, because I wear spandex at 50 years old.
True.
Because that could go sideways pretty quick.
Counterpoint. You're 50. I just turned 45 myself. Do you ever just want to get fat and lazy?
So I've always said I think I have a 300-pound man inside that wants to eat his way out. Yeah. I'm just not allowing him to yet. But once I retire, mm-hmm. I'll maintain some health, because I got two little girls. I got a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're really good incentive to stay fit. But I'll probably eat more donuts after I retire than I do now.
300-pound man inside. And what is he, my wife? God, I'm sorry. That's my fault. Hey, you've been doing the open challenges with you are the TNT champion there, correct?
Yeah.
You've been doing these open challenges where you'll stand in the ring and you'll say it's an open challenge. Anybody can come down and wrestle you. Is that a good idea?
Probably not, but it sure makes for good TV. And what's been really cool about it so far, like one week I wrestled Minoru Suzuki, who, if you don't know, he helped create Pancrase and was there as really a forefather of MMA. So I'm in there one week with him, and then I'm in there with Matt Cardona, who used to play one of my edge heads on WWE. Then I'm in there against Daniel Garcia. Then last week I'm in there with Penta. Like, I've wrestled someone of a completely different style every week. That's, again, back to the challenge, right? Or staying hungry. That's how.
Did you ever... These questions are all over the place, and I apologize.
That's okay.
Did you ever take Rikishi Stinkface?
Yes, but I took it with a goalie mask on.
Ah, okay. Because I've always wondered, how did he pull that off without people like vomiting and stuff? Because it looks gross.
I put it this way. When I put the mask on, I was very thankful.
I'll say this about wrestlers. I think wrestlers' teeth have come a long way over the last 30 years. Used to, you would have a lot of guys missing teeth, but you don't really have that anymore. I
think everyone's teeth have come a long way since then, to be perfectly honest. Because you watch some movies from the 50s, 60s, 70s, there's some not, kind of like you could eat a cob of corn through a fence. There was a lot of that back then.
I'll be goddamn. Teeth have come a long way.
They have.
Good for teeth. Good for us, really. Yeah.
That was my mother-in-law. That was really the litmus test that I passed with her. She goes, "Oh, Beth, he has great teeth." It worked.
See, I ate a joke there about my mother-in-law. It was going to be very crude, and it was going to be very rude.
You literally ate it.
I did. I swallowed it and everything.
Got a little heartburn there with that one.
And it was kind of disgusting, but that's okay. What's the biggest difference in Shawn Michaels was like this, where Shawn Michaels had a brilliant first career, was away for 4 years, had a brilliant second career. You're in the middle of your second career. You had a brilliant first part of your career. The injury forced you to take what you said 9 years off from 2011 to Royal Rumble 2020. And now you're in the middle. You're 4 years into this run, and I assume you don't have plans of letting up anytime soon. So what's the difference in first run, we knew him as Edge, to now what Adam Copeland is today?
I've lived a lot more life. And as strange as that sounds, it actually does add to your utility belt out there. as a performer, any kind of performer, whether it's a musician writing music, whether it's an actor, and they got to dip into some place of their actual self to pull the character off. It's the same with wrestling. And I think that more than anything is what I've noticed in coming back, and some of the skill sets that I got in the acting that I did in those 9 years off. I did, I think, over 100 episodes of television in that time that I was retired. So you kind of try and pull those things back with you. And I feel like that's the biggest difference. I might not be as fast as I used to be, but I feel like mentally I'm better than I've ever been. And I think that, is why a guy like Tom Brady keeps going, yeah, well, mentally, I'm better than I've ever been. And I see the game better than I've ever seen it. I think that's the struggle. And that's kind of how I feel, but I'm also a realist, and I don't want to be that guy who sticks around to the point where a young guy looks at the sheet and goes, okay, I got to wrestle him tonight. I don't want to be that guy, right? I want young guys to still be excited if they're going to hop in there with me. So I figure maybe I got a year and a half left, give or take. And hopefully I've gotten all the yayas out by that point.
I'll say it. I don't know how rated R you are these days.
Well, I did just hit a man in the testicles with a 2x4 covered in nails. So there's that.
So that's what.
Who happens to be my best friend, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine. You hit him in the nuts with a 2x4 covered in nails, but why even get a 2x4 covered in nails in the first place? Why not just a regular 2x4?
Well, you just told me I'm not rated R, so now I'm being rated R. Now you're complaining about it. Don't be an internet guy.
No. I am the definition of internet guy. Connor Griffin, second question, go.
I don't have a second. Also, TJ, do you have a question?
No. But you know what?
TJ's a much bigger wrestling fan than I am.
We'll introduce TJ right now. So, all right, Mr. Copeland, I'm about to introduce you to my producer, TJ Hitchings, big wrestling fan, big Edge fan, and the first Raw he ever saw was in January of 2006. So it pretty much screwed his entire life up. Would you like to apologize to TJ right now?
Never. Okay. Never. I've tainted many lives over the years, or so I've heard.
Yeah, I don't think it screwed my life up as so much as it maybe was an awakening as a 9-year-old child. But yeah, big fan. I was going to ask where certain moments in your career stack up as far as how they influenced the future of your career. I look back at my wrestling fandom, and the first WrestleMania I saw was 22. And when I saw you and Mick Foley go through a table, I was like, this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Obviously, you've had a ton of huge moments like that on large stages. Where does that moment sort of stack up for you? How that moment came together?
I can kind of look at it in stages. So the first stage was Christian and I winning the tag titles at WrestleMania 16, because that was something we had to do. Like that was our goal from the 6th grade on. So to be able to do it at WrestleMania in a match that had never been done before, that was pretty huge. And then you got the TLC matches from there. Those also took a massive toll on the body. So in terms of affecting future, it definitely did. The match with Mick, I think for me, that kind of put my stamp in that I'm here and I'm not going to be overlooked, and kind of kept me in that main event circle, was that match with Mick. And then, main eventing against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and then coming back at the Rumble, and then coming over to AEW and just kind of experiencing something new after 25 years in one place. Again, going back to being hungry, that's a lot of the reason was this chance and this opportunity to do something entirely different at this stage of my career, where I could have just played it safe, but safe can be boring.
So, what's the best non-extinct animal?
Okay. I'm glad you prefaced it with that, because now I can answer with a sloth.
Come on, man.
No, seriously, think about it. No, seriously, think about this. Who enjoys their life more than a sloth?
It's a great point.
Dude, they're all chill. They're just hanging around. Sure, they move slow, but they don't care. I mean, talk about a great way to live life, just super chill. Like, you can see a sloth on a beach. That thing's never going to move. That sounds like heaven.
I can actually imagine.
Pina colada.
I have no problem imagining the life of a sloth. It seems like it makes sense. But do you think do they know they're moving slow?
I don't think so, which is another beautiful thing. They don't know any better. So they just do their thing. I mean, yeah, you could say a grizzly bear, all these alpha things. Give me a sloth all day. That's the life I want to live.
That is Adam Copeland of AEW. Check him out. Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.